Welcome to my shipping series, and this is the third episode. And in this episode, we are going to cover media mail. Media mail is probably the most misunderstood and most often misused shipping method available to eBay sellers. So what I want to do in this episode, I want to talk about the 10 things that you need to know about media mail that will keep you using it correctly and take advantage of some of the great things that it offers you as a seller. So let's get started with number one. And the number one thing you want to know about media mail is what's allowed to be shipped. It isn't everything. So let's take a close look at that. It allows you to ship things like books, films, printed music, sound recordings, and other educational materials. But once you get beyond those things, you very, very quickly become ineligible to use media mail. And so let's talk about number two, the things that can make something ineligible to be shipped via media mail. And those include anything that includes advertising is immediately disqualified from media mail. So that eliminates things like comic books. Even though they're reading material, they have advertisements in it. And if they have advertisements in them, they are no longer eligible for media mail. And that includes anything that would include an advertisement, any periodical, any type of magazine, all of those that have advertisements in it are ineligible. So unless it were like a scientific journal or something that doesn't have any advertisement in it, those are ineligible. Also, here is something else you need to know. Let's move on to number three. And this is something other than the product itself that can make items ineligible to be shipped via media mail. Let's say that I sell a set of books and they 100% qualify for media mail. They have everything that qualifies them. They're educational. There's no advertisement. However, I'm going to include a ChaChingKing business card in there that has my social media and things like that on it. That immediately, even though it's the addition of one item, makes that ineligible. So if you have items that qualify for media mail and you want to include a piece of clothing or an advertisement or free pencils with your business name on it or free pencils, anything that doesn't qualify, the addition of any of those things makes the entire package ineligible. So you have to be very careful what you include with the media mail. And that's going to bring us to number four, and that's going to be like, how are they going to know? Well, first of all, if you know me, if there's a rule, you should follow it, whether you're going to get caught or not. But let's talk about that for a minute. Number four is really important, is that packages shipped via media mail are subject to postal inspection. They don't have to have a warrant or anything else. They open some of these at random to make sure that they qualify for media mail. So if you made a habit of shipping things that don't qualify via media mail, you're eventually going to get caught. So don't do it. Let's move on to number five, the cost of shipping via media mail. Unlike a lot of the other services, media mail is exceptionally cost effective. And that's because they've created it to be able to ship educational materials. And as such, it goes by weight and destination, but there is a weight charge that is very, very reasonable. And I don't want to go into individual prices because sure enough, by the time I get this video out, the prices will change. But just know that they go by weight and destination, and it's very, very reasonable. And so if you've been avoiding selling books because you're thinking, that book is going to weigh 4 pounds, a 4-pound book is going to be much more cost effective to ship than, say, a 4-pound jacket. Let's move on to number six. And we're going to go back to shipping times. Shipping times with media mail are typically going to be around that 10-day mark. Media mail is one of the slower shipping methods, and a lot of it will travel almost like freight. And so you need to keep that in mind if you're selling something via media mail, that it is going to take a while to get there. Here's something that you can do to help your buyers if that's an issue. A lot of times, if I have something that I'm going to ship via media mail because it's so much cheaper, I can still offer a secondary shipping method that is much, much faster, something like priority mail, and charge the difference. I can still offer the cheap shipping, but I've got this other option in here. But for media mail, it's going to be a little bit slower. And knowing that, let's take a look at number 7. All of you know that if you've been selling any time at all, that things slow down during peak seasons. Yeah, first class can take much longer. Priority takes longer. None of them probably slow down more than media mail. So while I can tell you that during peak seasons, all of the shipping services slow down, media mail tends to slow down the most. It is not going to be prioritized during the peak seasons. And so you need to keep that in mind too. Aside from the fact that the standard is closer to 10 days, it will have a more dramatic slowdown effect during peak seasons than some of the other shipping methods. All right, let's take a look at number 8. Because media mail isn't traveling first class and it's not traveling priority, and a lot of it is going to travel very much like freight, the packages are much more rough and tumble. They're not treated with the same degree of care that something else would be. You need to make sure that when you pack your items, that you have packed them really, really well, because they're not going to get the same care. If you sell an antique book that's worth a great deal of money, you need to be very, very careful with that, because you don't want it to get destroyed on the way because you didn't pack it well. All right, now that makes number 9 really important. Let's move on to that. You need to know that media mail doesn't have any included insurance. So if you're shipping something that needs insurance, then you're probably going to have to buy that separately, because it isn't going to be included. Other methods of shipping include some insurance, but just know that if you're shipping something very valuable via media mail, you're going to have to go in and insure that yourself. And you can buy additional insurance, but it would be an additional cost. And then you've got to weigh that additional cost. If you take the cost of media mail and then you add in insurance, would you have been better off to go with a faster and possibly safer method of shipping that included insurance? How close are those costs? So make sure you're comparing those when you're using media mail. And so let's move on to number 10. And number 10 is, how big can it be? So while the dimensions vary, for me, it's always come down to weight. And media mail packages can be up to 70 pounds. As far as the dimensions go, there's a combination of dimensions that can equal 108 inches total. The length plus the width plus the height can equal 108 inches. But probably what you're going to run into first is the actual weight. And anything over 70 pounds doesn't qualify for media mail at all. And so you would want to choose another method. And that pretty much covers media mail. I mean, in a nutshell, it covers media. And it covers a lot of weight. It's pretty inexpensive to ship, but it's a little bit more rough and tumble. There's no insurance. You better pack it well, and you better let the buyer know it's going to be a while before it gets there. And if you're shipping one at Christmas, it's going to be a long time before it gets there, potentially. But media mail is so cost effective that it's absolutely worthwhile if you want to be competitive with the other people selling educational materials and books and things like that. That's it for media mail. I appreciate you watching. I'm going to see you real soon on the next episode in this series. Thanks for watching. Bye.